Welcome to the Clemson Dubcast, Saturday, February 27th. About to take in the Clemson versus Miami basketball game here at TigerIllustrated.com. Paul Strelo with the latest on where Clemson goes from here after Ty Simpson's commitment to Alabama. Clemson's football team on the field today for the third time of spring practice. Plenty of coverage moving through the weekend and into next week. Check it all out at TigerIllustrated.com. Title sponsor of the Dubcast since the very beginning, back in August of 2018, Parham Smith & Archenhold Law Firm in downtown Greenville. They want you to know that their office remains open and available to serve you during the COVID-19 crisis. They are also offering their clients the ability to meet via telephone or through video conferencing. Whether you have a loved one who has suffered from a car accident, defective product, a neglectful nursing home facility, or medical malpractice issue, Parham Smith & Archenhold's Greenville lawyers can provide the protection and guidance you need. Free consultations, 864-990-4581, or on the web at parhamlaw.com. That's P-A-R-H-A-M law.com. If you're in the Eastern Midlands and PD area and you're in any way interested in buying and selling a home, commercial property, land, need to consider reaching out to Uptown Realty. They're based out of Sumter and run by a friend of mine, Patrick Enzer, big Clemson guy. Used to cover the Tigers in a newspaper capacity, longtime supporter of Tiger Illustrated, longtime listener to the Dubcast. The home buying process should be an enjoyable experience, so let Patrick and his staff do all the heavy lifting. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call 803-774-0435 or go to uptownrealtysc.com. Harris Flooring has been a major part of the facilities enhancements over at Clemson, not just with athletics, but also at the university level. And we are thrilled that they are a part of the Dubcast as a sponsor. Since 1947, the Junkins family and Harris Flooring have provided a unique shopping experience through value in their services, developing the right product solutions, and delivering on their promises. To check out some reviews on their work, just go to their Facebook page, Harris Flooring America. Rave reviews, just first class all the way. Phone number 864-642-6183. Okay, to our conversation with Xavier Brewer, who is getting used to his new digs in Monroe, Louisiana. Actually, Funroe, as he says, in his new role as cornerbacks coach for Louisiana-Monroe. Here we go. Enjoy. Okay, joined by Xavier Brewer. How you doing, man?
Doing well, man. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. So what is life like for you over in Monroe, Louisiana for, I guess, the last 2 months or so?
Fun road. It's been a blast. You know, it actually takes me back to Clemson circa 2008. You know, obviously we always had a lot of talent there at Clemson, and you know, but we just needed the right coach to come in and build the right mindset and create the right culture to get us over the hump. And so you can just see it in these guys' eyes. You know, they want to win, and you know they want to be coached hard. They want to know what it looks like, want to be told what it looks like, and they're hungry. They're hanging on every word we say, and you know, it's a great opportunity for me, obviously, personally, as being my own, finally have my own room, you know, to grow as a coach and just take that next step in my development as well. So it's been awesome.
Can you take us back to the process that led to you to Coach Terry Bowden, you know, telling you he was interested in you, and then like when did that first happen, and then take us through that whole process that ended up with you in at Louisiana-Monroe?
Yeah, obviously it didn't start with Coach Bowden. It started with Coach Swinney.
Okay.
I'm over there. It's a normal day of practice, getting ready to warm ups. I think it's getting ready for the bowl game, and he's all right, bro, better be ready. I told you, I gave Coach Bowden your name. Louisiana-Monroe, I was obviously after Coach Bowden took the job. And so I figured, you know, with that kind of reference, I was going to be hearing from Coach Bowden soon. And so I just kind of got myself ready for that. And wasn't a very long interview. I would say, well, it was a long interview the last 2 years working with Coach Bowden. So it was probably part of my interview. So the conversation, it maybe took a day or so, and then made my decision to, you know, take that step.
Can you describe to me what Terry Bowden, what he did at Clemson? Because, you know, he was not, I think he purposely didn't want to be in the limelight. He declined most interviews and just was a behind the scenes guy, but he's such a recognizable face for obvious reasons. How did your relationship develop with him, and did you work with him at all, even though you're a defensive on the defensive support staff and he's more on offense?
I would say not work with him directly, but I did see him work. I saw his work ethic. I saw the amount of time he put in everything he did. And then we did crossover reports. He would come in and he was always over prepared, and it was always awesome to see, his humility coming from being a head coach for as long as he was to being now an analyst. Like you said, he was sitting in the back of the room, every team meeting, every staff meeting, and just his humility just to learn and grow. Even at his age, even after all the experience he had, so probably had more wins than as a head coach than anybody in our facility. So
yeah.
It was just really awesome to see that humility, like I said, at his age, man, and it's uncommon. And so that made it easy for me to definitely want to have that conversation with him to see what he wanted to present, and then see his vision for what he wants to do with this program.
So you're, of course, not the only one that he nabbed from Clemson. Rod McDowell, the running backs coach, Maverick Morris, offensive line coach, and then also Zac Alley. Zac Alley, who was here, a Clemson grad who went to Boise State with Brian Harsin as the defensive coordinator. He's 27 years old. I think he's the youngest DC in the FBS, if I'm not mistaken. So can you maybe reflect on the Clemson flavor of the staff over there?
Yeah, I mean, you hear something about Clemson every single day in our staff meetings, just because obviously Coach Bowden's experience there, how much it impacted him as a coach. And then obviously, a lot of our staff, you say the young guys, but, Big Daddy Ron West, he was actually at Clemson my freshman year, and he was there about 4 years before that. And then Rich Rodriguez, he was also there as well. So, obviously weren't there for the Coach Swinney era, but, it was just a lot of, Clemson guys had Clemson experience at that special place. Just speaking on a little bit of that is just, we want to take a lot of the things that we learned there. We know we're not going to beat Clemson. There's only one Clemson. But there's just certain lessons and things that we all experienced through our processes and our time there under Coach Swinney, under that great staff in general. The camaraderie that staff had, still has to this day. The alignment from the president's athletic director all the way down to head coach, and the importance of having that alignment because it trickles down to the players. And so we want to be able to take a lot of those positive things and bring them here to Phone Row.
I knew Rodriguez was there. I did not know Ron West is there. What is he coaching?
He's coaching the DNs.
Okay, so he's on the same side of the ball as you. That's interesting.
Yep.
You have an interesting perspective on Clemson because you were recruited under the Tommy Bowden staff. I guess you were redshirting in 2008 when everything went down with the Tommy being out and Coach Swinney being in. What's your earliest recollection of Clemson? And that Coach Swinney recruited you, right?
He did.
Yeah. What was that recruiting process like, and what led you to be sort of taken by Coach Swinney, who was in the receivers coach, and then Clemson just in general?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I didn't know who the heck Clemson was because I was a Florida kid. All I knew was the Florida schools. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to go to Florida. I grew up a Miami fan, but when I went through the process, I ended up wanting to go to Florida State. That's actually how I got known, was going to one of their camps. But they ended up being the only school in Florida that didn't offer me. So it's funny, I say I grew up idolizing Coach Bowden, Bobby Bowden, ended up playing for Terry Bowden so I could beat Bobby. And now I'm working for Terry. So I feel like I'm one of the Bowdens now, I feel like I'm part of the family. And it was really cool because they were all there at the our initial press conference. So that was an awesome experience to be able to, talk to them and kind of just reflect on the past. That was cool. But, so Coach Swinney actually came my sophomore year where he was looking at a tackle. He had our area in Jacksonville. I don't know if you remember, in 2008, he got like 8 guys out of Jacksonville, Jamie Harper and Kyle Parker and all these guys, Daniel Andrews. And he was looking at a tackle, and he just was like, And I walked in. I just happened to walk in the room, and he's with my head coach, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm coming back to get you next." I was like, "All right, whatever you say." I didn't know who he was, didn't know anything about him, but I just remember this. He was just young, had a lot of confidence, and had a great personality. And then, that next year, we went to the Florida State Clemson game, and that was actually my first experience of seeing Clemson. They ended up beating Florida State, and Kyle Parker had committed. And he played a big influence as well. Him and his dad kind of nudged me that way, and then built a really good relationship with Coach Swinney. And then really, honestly, I don't remember really having many conversations with the defensive staff. I've talked to Tommy, but I just don't remember having many conversations with defensive staff. Come to find out years later, they actually wanted to move on to another position. Although they offered me, they wanted to move on. The defensive staff wanted to move on. And, when I called and committed, Coach Swinney actually got into it with some guys on the defensive staff at the time about, hey, you guys offered him. We offered him. We all said we're going to do this. And so we're going to honor his commitment. And I guess it came down to Tommy Bowden, his decision, and he honored my commitment as well. So that stuff, I found out years later, but it's just kind of cool reflecting back on it, like how much of a impact Tommy and Coach Swinney had in my life, because I probably wouldn't be in this position I'm in right now if it wasn't for that just moment in time, And then obviously being able to go to Clemson and do what I did, build relationships and just try to do things the right way, lead by example. But yeah, with Coach Swinney getting the job halfway through my redshirt year and Coach Bowden getting fired, I thought it was a graceful transition, as graceful as it could possibly be that I've ever seen, that I've ever been around, that I could ever think about experiencing. Because Coach Swinney has so much respect for Coach Bowden, so you never heard a bad thing said about how we used to do things and this and that, but he was very firm with, this is how we're going to do things, and what it's going to take to change the culture and the mindset and different things like that. And obviously there was transition of the staff and different things like that. So I would say that experience was, it was important for me in my development, just as a young man, and understanding the importance of culture and mindset. And, nobody's bigger than the program. No one person is bigger than a program, teamwork and, development, different things like that. So, yeah, I would say it was a unique experience and unique perspective I have of seeing that program go from what it was in 2008 to what it is right now. And I'm always going to bleed orange and be thankful for my experience because, like you said, it's a unique one. But like I said, I'm thankful for it, and I'm going to carry it on with me wherever I go.
Makes it more unique that the defensive staff that you played under wanted to move on to someone else. When did you hear about that, and who told you?
About a couple years ago, Coach Swinney told me. He's like, "Hey, I got something to tell you. I don't know if I've ever told you this." I was like, "What you got?" And so he kind of just broke down the story to me. I'm like, "Oh man, I had no idea." But like you said, it is unique that, somebody on that staff probably could have got the head coaching job. A lot of those guys have more experience than Coach Swinney did. But, God don't say oops. There's a reason why he ended up getting the job, obviously because he earned it. And then, like I said, God had a plan for him, and God had a plan for me as well. And I was part of Coach Swinney's plan, And what's actually more interesting on top of that, when he got the job, and me being a young 18-year-old, I'm saying, I'm about to, because I'm kind of falling under the influence of everybody else.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm about to transfer. I'm out of here. I'm going back to Florida. I don't know about this, not knowing that this guy fought for me.
Wow.
And you know what he told me? He brought me in. I'll never forget it. He brought me in, 18 years old, saying, he said, "Where are you gonna go?" I said, "I'm going to Florida." Because, that was the other school I was, or UCF. He's like, "Oh, so that's what you're going to do, huh?" It's like, "Yeah, that's what I'm thinking." He goes, "No, you're not. You ain't going nowhere." He goes, "You're going to stay right here. You're going to help me build this thing. You're going to be a leader for this team in the future. And we're going to do this thing the right way." And he said a lot more than that, but that was like the the summary of it. And, that man could sell ice to Eskimo. And he did that to me for sure. And I didn't go nowhere. Not many. I don't think any guys from that team actually transferred. So that says a lot about him, a lot about, what he's about and why the program is what it is, man. He's about the right things. And, he's a guy you want to run through a brick wall for, even to this day.
So just to get this story straight, when you called in to give your commitment, there was conflict about whether to take the commitment.
Yeah, because I guess they found or thought other guys were better.
Right.
Or they saw like I ran a bad 40 times somewhere or something. And it's kind of just what it was.
So this would have been the Vic Koenning's staff. And as you mentioned, you're right. When Tommy was out in the middle of 2008, like the common sort of conclusion was that if Clemson went the interim route, it would have been either Koenning or Brad Scott, both of whom had head coaching experience. But Terry Don went with Dabo. When Dabo informed you of that story, did you? I don't know. What was did it hurt your feelings at all? Did you think back to maybe they didn't, I don't know. What was that like? That's not a common thing to hear.
It definitely ain't common. I would say when I first heard it, I was about 29 years old. So it's kind of way past, my playing days. So, initially, you feel some type of way. Like, I would say, yeah, just a little like ashamed kind of in a way. But that was like an initial feeling. But then obviously you look past that and like, man, look at the experience I had. Look how God aligned it all, put it all together. Then there was this automatic gratitude. It was like, just thanks, and thanks to those who didn't believe me, thanks to those who believed in me, because at the end of the day, like you're going to have that in life. You're going to have people that believe in you, people that don't believe in you. But the most important thing is that you got to believe in yourself and know what you can accomplish. So, they probably didn't envision me becoming a 3-time starter and voted as the team captain my senior year, but, Coach Swinney did. He saw good things in me and saw as obviously as a player, but then more so as a person as well. Because like I said, I built a relationship with Coach Swinney. I didn't really have much of a relationship with the defensive staff as I went through the recruiting process. So, I have no ill will towards anybody from that staff at all. I work with Big Daddy right now.
Yeah.
It's all unique how it all comes full circle. But, it also going to help me through my recruiting process and making sure that I'm patient and I'm sure, like, when I offer a guy that it's somebody I know I'm willing to take their commitment right away, not just offering people just to offer people, just because they have a lot of offers or they have a lot of, whatever hype around them, actually getting to know the kid first and building the relationship. And, because that's really, in the day for me, that's really what it's all about. Like in the coaching business, with coaches, with players, with recruits, in the day it's about relationships because these are people we're dealing with, and better people, they make better players. So that's really kind of my experience and that I'm going to take with me.
I guess it is a little odd just thinking about it, like an offensive coach offering a defensive player. Just thinking back to that.
I mean, the thing about Coach Swinney, man, he's a relentless recruiter. He recruited his area. He recruited other areas. He recruited different positions. He got quarterbacks. He got a long snapper. Remember Matt Skinner?
Yep.
He got a running back, Jamie Harper. Got Dwayne. Daniel Andrews was a safety out of there. So, I mean, the thing about him, he's just relentless. And, I'm kind of the same way. I'm here now. I send Maverick guys all the time. I send hot rod guys all the time. And, if I think it's somebody that, I build a relationship with and I like and when they think he's a good player, then we'll go from there, But like you said, as far as going through the process, after you offer the guy, it should be on the position coaches to build that relationship. But for whatever reason, that just wasn't the situation for me. Really
interesting. Like, I guess Koenning was gone that December anyway, a couple of months after Dabo took over. So it wasn't like he was there for much longer. I mean, I think it's pretty I don't think has been any secret that he and Dabo didn't really get along. That was probably one of the reasons that he wasn't there for very long once Dabo took over. But you're the job of an analyst, like when you're at Clemson, people, you're out of the limelight. Reporters like me are talking to either Coach Swinney or the players or the coordinators, and so there's this mystery, at least to the average sort of fan, of, okay, what do these guys do? Like, what is your average day like? What was your average day like in your role at Clemson during the season?
I get that question a lot, and it was always dependent on what time of the year. Well, every day is recruiting for sure, but it amps up a lot more right after the season ends. Like, you are nonstop watching film, highlights for about 3 months, and then while the coaches are on the road, traveling, seeing recruits, so you're trying to find as many guys as possible that you think are worthy of them to go see, And so that starts pretty much that actually starts right before the bowl game, and then as you have a little bit of extra time, and then actually after the season ends, and you hit that really hard. And so you're evaluating guys, you're watching their film, and you're inputting your personal eval on them, and you're grading them. And then whether you like them or you don't, we put something on everybody. And then if it's somebody we like, I'll get information. I'll get background information on, see if he went to camps, what his times are, what his verified numbers are, his size, and all that. And then I'll call the head coach, and kind of get a background check on him. If I need to go deeper than that, I'll call the parents, or I'll call the guidance counselor. And then I'll make sure I have all that information ready for Coach V or the position coach or Coach Reed at the time. So when I bring this kid up, I have it. If they ask a question, I know about it already. It's, we're not just watching the kid just to watch the kid. Like, I know I have all the things answered. So, hey, you want to get on the phone with him? I already got his number right here. I'll call him right now, or see when he's available. So that's the recruiting process. And then during the season, it's more, for me, everyone had their own roles. I was in charge of breakdowns, so inputting data for the next game, so future games. So during the bowl season, it really amps up for me, or maybe right before ACC, because I got to make sure all 4 teams are broken down. I got to input all their data. So I watch all Alabama. I watch all of Ohio State. I watch all, because we weren't sure who we were playing yet. Obviously, thankfully this past year, we already had Notre Dame in, and we're playing them. So I got to have input all the information, their plays, offensive and defensive plays, as far as the future opponents go, and then have data broken down on tendencies, formation tendencies, different things they like to do, what's the quarterback's weaknesses, versus man coverage, where's he looking, just different things like that. I got to have all the information ready for the defensive coordinator by that Sunday. So when he walks in, he kind of has a head start. He's not having to dig through a bunch of stuff to find certain things, So that was my job as far as an analyst, grad assistant with the staff during the season.
And on the recruiting side, you're allowed to call and communicate with prospects and people around them. So
I believe it depends on the year. I believe seniors, I was able to communicate with them. I could not call juniors. I could only do that because I think they can only get like 1 call a week at the time. And then obviously I didn't want to use that for as far as our coaches go. So yeah, I could text with them as much as possible, but so that's what I did. Kind of build relationships that way, and then build relationship with a lot of coaches. And I was thankful to have that experience, because only 2 of the GAs, the on-field guys, are allowed to even do that. So I was able to talk to a lot of high school coaches and build relationships with a lot of high school coaches around the country. So yeah, that was a really cool experience.
I think when you were in high school and being recruited, texting was the big innovation.
Yep, it just started. I had my flip phone razor.
Does it make you feel old to look at all the modern ways of communication compared to what it was back then?
It does, but then it doesn't, because I just think about, the coaches older than me who didn't have any of that. It's like, how the heck did y'all do anything? Like, how did y'all break down film when y'all had like DVDs? That's all you were watching film on, or even like VHS, It's just, you had to go exchange VHSs. I know my high school coach used to tell us stories about how he used to have to exchange, like he had to go meet the coaches somewhere and exchange VHSs. Like, how the heck did that work in college, And obviously with recruiting too, like you just had to go off of somebody else's word on what somebody's size is, unless you obviously went to go see them, And so you miss out on a lot of prospects that way. I mean, we still, in college game today, prospects get missed out on all the time still. So I can only imagine how many guys got missed out on back then with the lack of technology and, so communication and things like that.
I think it was the 2011 recruiting class for Clemson when Jeff Scott was having his press conference, and he was telling us how important it was that he got the old men on the staff like Dan Brooks and Caldwell and Pearman to buy into the benefits of the iPhone. Back then, the iPhone was like this big innovation.
Wow,
pretty crazy. How
2011? Much dang, that is crazy.
Want to share a quick word about Founders Federal Credit Union. If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership, as well as IPTAY members. Matt Gross is a proud Clemson alum and the vice president for the Clemson market for Founders Federal Credit Union. Matt's office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham Smith and Archambault. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507. Celero Communications, formerly known as Tandem Payment, is a full-service integrated electronic payments provider powered by leading-edge technology. Celero provides a wide array of merchant solutions, simplified payments. They make onboarding, taking payments, maintaining risk management and compliance, and getting support quick and easy. At Celero, they're all about helping you achieve sustainable growth as a business. Taking payments isn't the only thing your business needs. With Celero's solutions, you can manage inventory, sell products and services via social media, schedule staff, track sales, get reports, and much, much more. Find out more about Celero at celerocommerce.com. That's CELERO commerce.com. So you went, I guess, take us back to post football, Clemson football. You tried out in the NFL for a while, and then you did the arena thing, and then you were a personal trainer for a while.
That's it.
And how can you describe the I guess the calling that you had to get into coaching, which led to you coming back to Clemson?
Yeah, I would say coaching was something I've always wanted to do since I was as young as I can remember. The dream was to play football forever and then coach. But reality was, it didn't work out with the NFL. Got cut in the final cut with the Cowboys, and then got football in my system, playing arena ball 2 years, playing football. And then while I was playing arena ball, that's when I started personal training, because I was personal training at a place where I was actually personally training at.
Right.
And then once that finished, I was actually training an entire middle school football team, doing their off-season training. And after my last year of arena ball, I believe it was summertime, like August. And obviously I couldn't start coaching college ball at the time. And then because the season was about to get started, and an opportunity opened up with that team that I was training to coach them, be their head coach, because they didn't have a head coach going into the season. And so that's actually my first year of actually coaching, was going there and doing that. And so that was a cool experience. And it actually turned into, after the season, there was a church right by the place where we practiced at that had a weight room in it, and obviously had the fields next to it as well. And they actually allowed me to start training there by myself. And I started with about 30 football players, like middle school, going into high school football players. And X Factor was born. You know, that turned into something where I was training a whole bunch of football players, and then also it turned into I was training lacrosse athletes and soccer athletes, baseball players. We had an Under Armour flag football league. We had a travel 7-on-7 team. Actually had a travel lacrosse team. So it kind of blew up the next 3 to 4 years I was doing that. And then after that, then Coach Swinney provided the opportunity for me to go to Clemson.
And were you going to school as well?
I was not going to school.
Gotcha.
No, I graduated in 2012.
And you got your master's too, right?
I did get my master's after I graduated, yeah.
Gotcha. So you were just purely an analyst, I guess, when you came back a couple years ago.
Oh, no, I was a grad assistant. Sorry.
Grad assistant.
That's when I came back to Clemson is when I got my master's.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, so I'll actually get that in May.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What is it like? I mean, being on a football staff is a very demanding pursuit. And how hard is it to juggle that with school?
You know, being a football player is very demanding as well, especially a college football player. So it was a grind, man. It was a grind. I think we spend a lot more time in that facility than the players do, especially during the season because we're there really late nights and early mornings. So that stuff, I mean, you gotta find the time to get your stuff done. You know, if it's a small window when typically, especially during the season, the small windows when we travel, when we have like a little time off after the movie or before the movie, is when a lot of schoolwork gets done. Or if we have a night game, we'll have like 2-3 hour breaks throughout the day. Try to use those times to get that done. So that's about it.
What's the most valuable thing you will take from working for Brent Venables?
Man, so many things. If I was to put it to one, think about that one. It definitely had to be, you know, his relentless work ethic and his reason why. You know, he didn't want to let his peers down. He didn't want to let his staff down. He didn't want to let his head coach down. He didn't want to let his players down. So I mean, that was his why for no one works harder than Coach V. And I don't think I'll probably never be around anyone that does, but just, you know, the passion he has for the game and what drives him. I would say those things are definitely big takeaways I could definitely take from him, just as far as like, you know, obviously he's a genius at football, but he's a genius at football because he works at it. So I would just say his just relentless work ethic to be the best he can possibly be and give his players his best, you know. And I would say this last year, part of him being his best and giving his best was the past couple years, at least, him opening up and, you know, letting them know his heart, letting us, the staff, know his heart and who he is as a man and, you know, what he's about. So that's all part of it, you know, building relationships the best way he knew how with his players. So just relentless effort and giving his best effort in every aspect of his life, you know, to be the best coach and be the best man he can be. So, you know, I can say that for a lot of guys on that coaching staff, but definitely Coach V.
What do you mean by him opening up? Was he sharing like his life story, I guess?
Sharing life stories and also sharing, you know, different experiences in the coaching realm that we all could learn from, you know, whether good or bad, you know, not being afraid just to share stories just because he knows it could make an impact on us, you know, or his players. So those are big things right there for sure.
I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but he is such an animal. And as you mentioned, he's so relentless with what he is doing.
Yeah.
That I wonder, is he cut out to be a head coach, or is he just a great all-time great defensive coordinator. Can he? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no doubt. He's an all-time great defensive coordinator, but I would definitely coach for that man right there as a head coach. There's no doubt about it. He's definitely cut out for it. Just because, one, his knowledge of the game. He'll know how to manage the game. He understands offenses better than any person I've ever been around. And obviously he knows defenses as well, and that's why he's so good as a defense coordinator, because he understands offenses and what they're trying to do. So from a X's and O's standpoint, there's no doubt, he's one of the greatest football minds I've ever been around. So I know he can handle that aspect of it. But as far as like managing people as well, I think he the last 2 years I was with him, he did a great job with our coaching staff. And I could just see him definitely doing it and running an entire team. And the thing is about Coach B, the guy you see in practice and the guy you see on game days is not the same guy you see when you're walking with him down the hallway, or, he's calling you at night, just checking on you, see how you're doing, talking to your family. When he's with his daughters, he's a totally different man, and very relatable, very easy to talk to, so easy to talk to. But, he just knows how to flip that switch, just like any great football player. And in the game, maybe nice guys off the field, Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, when they get on that field, they turn into monsters, they turn into animals, like you said. And that's just what most people see, is that side of him, but he knows how to flip that switch. And also during the games as well, he knows how to change his temperament as well, for depending on the moment, he's just really into the game because, like you said, he puts so much into it and he wants to do well. And so it comes out, his passion comes out, and that's what you guys see. That's what everyone sees. And they think it's just like a crazy psychopath, but really it's just his passion. And that's how it pours out, and he has no shame in it, But like I said, I think he could be a head coach for sure because, one, he knows how to control his temperament. And like I said, off the field, he's one of the most easy people to just kind of relate to. And I know seeing his players the last couple of years, and obviously he got there my senior year. And so as a defense coordinator, your first year, you're starting to create a new mindset, new culture. Building relationships is kind of the back door, but as he's been at Clemson and kind of bought into the culture there, it's very obvious that the players there and the players in the past would die for that guy. They, like I said, just like Coach Swinney, they run through a brick wall for him. They want to do well for him. They'll defend him. And I think there'll be no difference if he was a head coach, because like I said, he's relatable. He understands the game. He understands how to push buttons. He's a great storyteller. And he's great at connecting, his life experiences, his life stories, and make them relevant to what things are going on now. So it wasn't a big surprise to me that his name was in a bunch of head coaching opportunities this offseason. It's never in a ton of them because I'm sure a lot of people just obviously think he's satisfied. But, I think it's just a matter of time before he becomes a head coach, honestly.
Yeah, you're right about the off-the-field thing because a couple of years ago, my daughters played in the same softball league as his over there at Nettles Park, and he was just a normal guy, totally laid back. As he watched you could just tell he got so much joy out of watching his daughters play. So really cool window to have into that.
No doubt.
Given that a big part of your job was advanced scouting, I have to ask you about Ohio State. I know that I watched Ohio State closely going in, all their games, and man, it was just really surprising seeing not just their output, but also all the schematic stuff they were doing, mixing up the tempos and such, because it just seemed like something was off with them all year on offense. And I'm sure you saw that too. Can I get a window into sort of what you saw in your scouting of them and what you were in the staff were thinking going into the game, and then of course sort of maybe how much of a jolt it was to see some of their, I guess, new wrinkles that they unveiled during the game?
Yeah, they had a few wrinkles, but in the day, man, if you can't stop the run, you're gonna have a hard time winning the football game. And I would say for us, just looking back at the game, I didn't think we did a good job of stopping the run. Our guys prepared well. I thought we were prepared, and the coaches got them very prepared for the game. But I would say early and often, it was chunk runs, and that opens up everything else. You can blame it on tempo, blame it on whatever else you want, but it all starts with the run game and making plays, players making plays. And I thought they made more plays than we did. That's really what it came down to with that. So, I mean, X's and O's or whatever, but in the day, I thought that they did a good job of, like you said, changing up their tempo, not letting us get lined up. That was another thing as well they did a good job of. And like going from fast to slow, to slow to fast to, like you said, going up and down. And that probably helped them in the run game, like you said, not letting us get lined up. That's another thing as well. And then we didn't make plays in the secondary and the back end. We had opportunities to get our hands on some balls, and we didn't do it. And, again, not getting lined up didn't help us as well with as far as being able to defend the pass to the best of our ability because we weren't lined up properly. So I'll say those two things. And then, I guess I'll put that on us as a staff as well. We didn't have the guys ready to get ready for a change-up of tempo, But like anything else, anytime you lose, it's a great learning experience. So I know that staff right there is hungry and ready to learn from everything that just happened and take it into the off season. I mean, shoot, they got 20-something guys coming back that started football games on defense last year. So they're going to be just fine. And I know that staff is hungry as well. So, but as far as, I mean, there's nothing from a scouting standpoint, there's nothing extraordinary. I didn't think that, the average person couldn't see. Like even you just said, they changed up the tempo and they ran the ball well and, they made plays in the passing game. That's really what it came down to.
It's interesting in the Fiesta Bowl against Ohio State the year before, they used pace. It was just they pushed the tempo in the first half and then got away from it in the second half. Y'all had a lot to do with that in the second half of that game. And then this time it was more the pre-snap deception was just so sort of skilled, like they just would not let y'all get a read on what they were doing. Was that something? Did y'all go into that game expecting them just to push the tempo and they maybe not expecting them to do all the shift, the changing of the speeds and then the getting the play in and then snapping it before y'all could get set?
I would say we were ready for whatever because they had a couple weeks to prepare for us, but we also knew that they prepared for us all year. Ever since that game ended, they've been ready. They've been looking at Clemson. I don't even think they were focused on the Big Ten schedule. They were wanting to beat Clemson, and so that's probably a lot. And also a lot of people forget. They had a lot of COVID issues throughout the year as well, especially that last game in the Big Ten championship. They're missing a lot of key players that they end up getting back against us. So I would say, they did a great job, like you said, presenting some things that they didn't present most of the year and that we had to adjust to, and we didn't adjust to properly, and caught us off guard and punched us in the chin. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, they got us.
How hard is it to coach defenses nowadays? I mean, we think back to Trevor's freshman year when you guys put up 44 on Alabama, and then a year later LSU has this ridiculous offense, and then this past season not only did Ohio State have a really good offense, but then Alabama maybe the best offense in history it looked like in the championship game. How difficult is it to be on the defensive side of the ball right now with all these just totally prolific elite offenses?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, do defenses win championships anymore? Right. I'm a firm believer in teams win championships, but I'm with you that, man, there's been some prolific offenses. Having to see LSU in 2019 was incredible. Having to break down Alabama on film, like, I can tell you how many times the guys in the staff room get annoyed with me. I'm like, how many times I'm just like, wow, Oh my gosh! Oh, just breaking them games down. It's like because they're just complete offenses, man. Like big, strong offensive linemen that can move, and they were just scary to watch. Like, man, I would hate to play against that dude. Running back, obviously, they have running backs that get downhill, can catch the ball in the backfield that you have to count for. Then you got some of the most prolific receivers this game's ever seen on the outside. And then they're making you cover every blade of grass with quarterbacks that can make every single throw. And these guys aren't a bunch of stiffs. These guys can move. Even Mac Jones, a lot of people think he's just a stiff, but, he evaded all the time. Like, he was really elusive in the pocket. And, Joe Burrow was one of the most elusive guys I've ever seen on film. He wasn't a Lamar Jackson, but he just had a knack for getting away from pressure while keeping his eyes down the field. Mm-hmm. And, like you said, it's very difficult, especially with the run-pass options, having to cover every blade of grass on the field. It's very difficult, but that's what you get. That's what the defense coaches get paid for, to try to figure out how to stop them. There's always something new that's going to come up. There's new defenses now that are coming along that are able to cause confusion to offenses. And I think defense will catch up. Defenses will catch back up, and then, something new will come up on offense, But I would say just the mix of the game, the offensive game planning, and then the skill that's out there now, on these teams it's really, 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 really tough to defend for sure. But the thing about Clemson, you're blessed when you get to practice against Trevor Lawrence every day, and you get to practice against all these elite guys, Justin Ross getting back, So that also helps with the preparation as well.
How much would change if they just put some teeth into the illegal man downfield rule, maybe making it more like the NFL's? I guess it's 1 yard in the NFL. You can't.
Yeah, that's never fun to watch when you're watching a game and then you're like, okay, this guy's 5 yards down the field. They haven't called anything, but that's a touchdown. That's never fun. But, that's just like anything else within the game. You got to control what you can control. We can't control the refs. You got to, just play the game. I think it would help. It'll help some for sure. Because as far as, linebacker and safety keys, they see a guy down the field. They're assuming, it's a run play. So that makes it definitely difficult. That's an added advantage for sure for the offense.
Can you take – yeah, go ahead.
But it's just like any other call that's missed. Pass interference is missed sometimes. So anytime things like – but that's a big one that for sure it hurts defenses, I would say.
When you're decades from now, when you've called it a career, hopefully a very successful coaching career, and you're looking back, how prominent will the summer of 2020 be for you as you look back to a summer unlike any other from the social justice movements and such to Trevor Lawrence being one of the main sort of drivers in allowing a season to even happen?
Oh, man, I got stories from that summer that will last a lifetime for sure. And I'm sure we all do. And like I said, I got experiences from just that time in general that I'll be able to share for the rest of my career, and being able to be a part of Clemson staff at the time with how influential the players were, man. It helped me realize how important it is to empower players and not enable players. And because the Clemson culture is a culture of empowerment, of empowering players to, speak out and, be about the right things, carry themselves the right way, hold themselves to a higher standard, then that gave them the opportunity to get with the people they need to get with to be able to use their voices the right way, instead of just going out on a whim and complaining on Twitter and, just kind of following what everybody else was doing. They led and created something as far as like the march, the speeches, the getting the other players around the country together. They just did so many different things and they're just so aware, the players were just so aware of what was going on with the world. And, they wanted to say something, but they wanted to do it the right way. And, and I would say that's one thing for me, especially as well, learning the experience of just taking the time to process things instead of just having an emotional reaction to everything. Take some time, process it, talk it out with some people you respect and that will help guide you in the right direction you need to go to so you can present yourselves the right way. And so those were some of the biggest takeaways for me from that summer, man. I was just in awe of the players on that team and how they came together. We did some things behind the scenes as well together where, we had just kind of circle talks as a team, got around in the circle, obviously socially distanced, in like groups like 8 to 10. Everybody had an opportunity to just speak out and just how they're feeling and what they're going through, what their thoughts are, past experience they went through as well. And so all those opportunities to speak and speak up and speak to each other were opportunities of growth and development for everybody within that program. And, Clemson has a lot of influence in college sports right now, and I feel like they use their influence in the right way.
What stories will you share? Say
that again?
You said over your career you're going to share stories from that summer to players that under you.
Just everything about that is just like the importance of empowerment. Importance of using your platform the right way. And so using the stories of, like you said, Mike Jones, getting the idea of that march started. And then. Trevor Lawrence getting all the credit for it, which is great. It's fine because he's the face of the college football. But at the same time, seeing Mike Jones's, humble gratitude to just kind of sit back and let it happen because it wasn't about him. It wasn't about Trevor. It was about a movement, of bringing people together, unifying people. It wasn't about just one person. It was about everyone. So that for sure, that march is an incredible moment, and I think that is history. I think it's that moment is set in stone. Is definitely a historic movement. I think it started in the town of Clemson. I think it spread throughout the country once word got out. And I mean, those speeches. I think those speeches are really underrated, especially Darren Richards. I think those things, when people look back in time, like those speeches right there by those players are going to go down in history for sure. And even Coach Swinney's as well. Just how important, how they use, not just using their voices, but how they use your voices as well to promote change and promote an open atmosphere to have conversations, and try to create understanding, with and also acknowledging the fact that, our country is scarred. Our country has, we came into hundreds of years ago, we have a real history that isn't perfect, and it's an imperfect country, and a lot of those wounds haven't healed, and they may never heal, but at the end of the day, we got to acknowledge it and grow and understand and listen to each other and understand we're all different, but also appreciate our differences.
This was a profound learning experience for everybody, I'm sure, within the program. What do you think that Coach Swinney learned through it? I mean, he even spoke about some of that publicly, but I'm just curious what kind of learning experience maybe you observed that it was for him.
I don't know if I want to speak on Coach Swinney's learning experience. I'm sure he's talked about that plenty, so I don't know if I want to go there.
That's fine. That's fine. What was it like? I mean, I think it's okay for somebody to say that he didn't handle some of the things in the most perfect way, but on the other hand, the way he was just blistered by the national folks during that whole conversation. I mean, some really ugly stuff said about him. What was that like being one of his former players, one of his coaches under him, who and just being a part of the program as he was on the receiving end of so much of that vitriol?
I learned a lot from that process. I was actually thankful for how he handled the process, to kind of learn and just to watch and observe, and also, be there to encourage him as well, because, he's someone who encouraged me through countless times of, I was let down or I let down somebody, and he was always there to pick me up as well, but end of the day, I was disappointed with the overall reaction towards him, because here's the thing. A lot of people don't know his background, don't know what he's about, don't know how many people he's actually impacted, black people he's impacted, players, coaches, in a positive way. They just kind of like to take bits and pieces out of what one person says and not look at the total picture of what the person is. No man on this earth is perfect. And there's no doubt about that. There's nobody on this earth that's perfect. And he'd be the first to tell you he ain't one of them either, But and we all have room to grow and develop in different ways. But, just to see him be attacked the way he was, and the way his family was attacked, the way his wife, was attacked, it was very disappointing to me, because I just know what he's about. I know what his heart's about. I know he's about the right thing. I know he makes more of a positive impact on young people's lives in 1 year than most people do in a lifetime. And so, just some of the grace he handled it with as well. He spoke up at times, but then he sat back at times as well when he could have spoke out. And so, like I said, he's just a guy that I'm always going to look up to. I'm always going to admire, but seeing him go through that was difficult. But at the end of the day, I know who he is as a man, and he knows who he is as a man. And he knows what he's about. And so at the end of the day, like I said, the people who know him, I think that's the most important thing, is we all support him. And people on the outside are always going to come after you, especially when you're successful, especially at his level. They're going to find something to nitpick at you about, good or bad, So like I said, the way he handled it with grace, I'll always appreciate.
Something I'll always take away from those days and that time is that while these issues are tearing people apart everywhere, adults, grown men and women twice the ages of these college kids, you have a group of these college kids, I don't know, 120 whatever, who are able to have difficult conversations, the same conversations that are taking place on the outside, but still find common ground to handle it with grace and to say, hey, we love each other regardless. I mean, what for all the crap that college kids get nowadays, I mean, that sounds like a hell of an example to me for everybody.
No doubt, man. And it gave me a lot of hope for the future. And, these guys want to be better. They want to be better than their parents. They want to be better than the world that was before them. And they want to leave the world better than they found it. And that's just really inspiring to me. Gave me a lot of hope, like I said. And I've said this before, my ancestors, they dealt with slavery. I didn't deal with slavery. But then, generations later, they had the civil rights movement. I didn't have to deal with that. My ancestors did. They didn't have to deal with slavery, And we have our own issues today, but and the thing is, I seen growth with that process. I mean, you see growth. You still see issues, but you see growth from the issues. And but there's still some issues today that linger from those times that still need to be developed and learned from and grow. And as a country, we need to grow from and take the next step. And in order to do that, the next generation needs to acknowledge it, needs to know that there's issues, that there were issues, and that there are issues that still linger from those times. That if they don't want to go back to that, then they need to be the leaders and take the next step with moving forward. And that's what I've seen. That's what I've seen with especially that Clemson football team, those players, and that and just the example that they showed through that whole process.
You guys as a team and teams everywhere just dealing with COVID, I mean, y'all had to do a lot of disruptions everywhere to the normal way of life of a football program. Is there sufficient celebration of the fact that we were able to get a football season in and all the things that were required to get it in?
Yeah, it's incredible that we were able to have a season for sure. I think it's really undervalued, like you said, all the manpower and woman power that went into making that happen. That season happened. It's actually just incredible. But it also just shows you how much we love football.
Yeah.
Like you said, man, there's just a lot that went into it. Like, man, getting tested, having contact tracing, having guys test positive, they're out for however long, and different conferences, different rules, no fans in the stands, It was just a whole lot, I think there definitely should be some, that's 2020 is a year for sure that's always going to be remembered as a whole for our country, but definitely as football, as college football and NFL went through it, it's definitely be a memorable season. And hopefully we don't have to go through that again.
Can you give me, and this is the last question, I'll let you go, but can you give me an image, your recollection of that the first road trip to Wake Forest? I guess their state regulations or whatever didn't allow a hotel staff to actually serve food to you. So you literally had staffers who were dishing out macaroni and cheese and all that stuff. Like you had to bring your own popcorn, I think is what Dabo said at one point. Can you take us back to that and what that was like, how surreal that must have been? It
was very surreal, but we had a lot of fun with it. I'll tell you that. We enjoyed every minute of it. We were singing and dancing in line as we were serving and just joking around with the players. It was great. It was great. I mean, it's just really cool. You see CJ Spiller down there serving. And that was also surreal too. Just seeing like my former teammates, DeAndre McDaniels, guys I used to play with. Now we're over here serving our players at Clemson. It was just, like I said, it was just so surreal. It was just a fun and neat experience. One I'm thankful for because, the easier thing to do is kind of probably complain about it, Like, oh, man, we got to serve these players. We got to do this. We got to do that. But no, we made the most of it. We enjoyed it. And we just embraced, the motto last year was embrace the suck. It's Coach Batson. There's a lot of things that sucked about last year, but you have to embrace it. So we just embrace the suck. Life's going to throw adversity at you, but it's not about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. And, it was just really cool to be a part of a program that responded the right way.
The glass half full, optimistic approach of, hey, we need to appreciate what we have. How much do you think that's just a reflection of the head coach and sort of the culture that he's set forth?
Man, anybody that knows him knows that's just who he is at his core. And it's always been me as well at my core, always hopeful for the future, always optimistic, always, the best is yet to come, always yet to come. And that's just a mindset, like you said. It's an important mindset to have, especially when when you build a culture, when you build a team, when you build a family. One, it doesn't leave room for satisfaction. You're never going to be satisfied. But then two, you never get too high on your highs, you never get too low on your lows. So you're always just hopeful for more, always hopeful for better days where things go good or bad.
Xavier Brewer, got a lot of folks pulling for you from here over to Fun Row, as you call it, as y'all get started, man. Best of luck and really appreciate your time.
All right, appreciate it, Larry. You have a good one.
All right, much thanks to Xavier Brewer for sharing his time with us. Really cool conversation there. It's going to be really interesting to watch Rich Rodriguez and that offense and all those Clemson folks over there. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks to our sponsors for their very generous support, and most of all, thanks to all of you for making this a part of your listening routine every week. We'll be back next week. Cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend.